When BMW first revealed the third generation of the Z4 a couple of years ago, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit underwhelmed by it. It shares a platform with the Toyota Supra, which both Toyota and BMW agreed they had to do, join a partnership together in order to sell sports cars because the volume is just so low on them these days, and both companies kind of got meh products out of it. But fast forward a couple of years and Toyota made the bold decision to develop a new manual transmission to go in their version of the car, the Supra. BMW was kind of left hanging. The Z4 only had an automatic until now. This is the 2025 Z4 M40i, and for the first time in this generation's life cycle, you can now buy it with a manual transmission. And it is not just a little box that you check when you're optioning out this car. It is an entire package. They've even given it a clever name. It's called the Handschalter Package, which means hand shift in German. And there is a very good reason why BMW went through all of the trouble to give it its own unique name. This is a lot more than just a different transmission. This is an entirely different car. Let's break it down. Now we're going to start off with a walk around of the 2025 Z4, which hasn't really changed much compared to last year's model unless you get the Handschalter package. Now the manual equipped car does have some actually specific exterior details to let you know that it's a manual that you cannot get on an automatic equipped Z4. The first and most obvious thing that you're going to notice is the color. It's called San Remo Green. You can only get the Z4 in green if you get the manual. You cannot option it if you get the automatic, which is why I like to call this color green with envy, because you're jealous that your neighbor got the manual car and you were stuck with the automatic. There is another green color available. It's called Frozen Deep Green. That one does come at a premium. It's about $2,950, gives you a matte finish. It's a little bit darker than this green. This green is obviously gloss and has a little bit of a mossiness to it. That one is a little bit darker. I prefer this one, and the fact that it is free included with the Handschalter package, which we'll talk about a little bit later. You don't have to pay extra. And if you do get the Handschalter package and you don't want green, don't worry, all of the other colors are available. In fact, you actually get all of the metallic non-frozen colors free if you get the Handschalter package. You don't have to pay. I think they're about $700 extra. As I said, the rest of the car, mostly unchanged. Another addition with the Handschalter package is you do get the shadow line package included with it, which is going to black out the grille and a lot of the other accents, including the mirror caps and all of that. And then one other thing that you should note here is that we actually have staggered wheels. Now, the regular Z4 automatic does get staggered wheels in terms of width, but these are actually staggered in terms of size and diameter as well. You get 19-inch wheels up at the front, 20 inches there at the back. This is something that BMW has previously left exclusive to M cars. This is not a full M car, it is an M Sport. So this is, I believe, the first one to ever get staggered wheels from the factory, wrapped in Michelin Pilot Super Sport tires. You can get that with either a red or a blue brake caliper. We have the red ones here. The only disadvantage here, I mean, the staggered look does look really good, is that you can't choose any of the other wheel patterns on the Z4. You have to get this specific wheel design if you're going to get the manual. So hopefully you like them. I think they're a pretty good design. And then I think we should talk a little bit about the roof. It is a soft top unit. I know the previous generation Z4 had a hard top, but I really just like how soft tops look. They're a little bit more classic, and this is a really good one. You can actually put the roof down in just about 10 seconds at speeds of up to 31 miles an hour, and you can even do it from the key fob. You just hold the unlock button and it's going to go down. You can see just how quickly and how cleanly this thing stores. It goes away so nicely and so easily. You can do the same thing on the way up. You just hold the lock button instead, but it is a really good roof, and it doesn't even take up any trunk space, which we'll go ahead and look at now. While we're back here, you can see no trunk space is taken up. You get just under 10 cubic feet of space back here with a pretty deep opening, or a pretty wide opening, pretty deep in there as well. And you do get this little pass-through, which you can then go ahead and open up. And there is another door on the inside. So if you have skis, maybe you want to take your Z4 skiing, you can fit something really long in there that you wouldn't otherwise be able to. So this is not the most practical two-door roadster, but they did their best to try and give it some cargo carrying ability. Now let's check out the interior, where there's not too much to go over here with the Z4. You do get these nice sportier seats here on the M40i. I absolutely love how these seats both look and feel. I'm loving the brown as well. I like the little M stripe here on the side. When you get the Handschalter package, you actually get one of 5 different shades of Vinaska leather. So it is like an upgrade over what you would get in the base Z4, and you don't have to pay extra for it when you get the Handschalter package. We do have a little bit of storage here behind the seats. You have this little cargo net, and I did mention that door that leads into the trunk as well. You have a nice wind deflector here with the built-in roll hoops. That actually makes a huge difference when you roll up the windows combined with this and you put on the heated seats and the heated steering wheel. You really do get a nice cocoon of warmth even when it is a cold day. Now the Z4 is pretty old actually in terms of technology here. We are running a couple generation old iDrive here. This is actually iDrive 7. We're about to be coming out with iDrive 9, and I have absolutely zero problems with that. Here's why. Got your digital cluster, doesn't look great, but who cares, whatever, it does the job. You've got your simple steering wheel with nice buttons on it, no adaptive cruise control. That is one thing you lose when you get the manual transmission. And we do have a simple screen, 10.25 inch touchscreen. You still have the iDrive controller down here, plenty of buttons. They've been doing away with this recently. This is all you need from an infotainment system. Yes, I wish the screen was maybe a 12-incher instead of a 10.25, but it does everything. It does wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, all of that. No problems, very easy to navigate. You don't need to overcomplicate it, BMW. This is probably your best infotainment that you've ever done. Volume knob, you still have the nice 1 through 8 buttons. You just run your finger over it and it shows you your pre-set assignment. You can program radio stations. You can program destinations on the GPS. I miss these. They are all gone from all of the new modern BMW models, as are all of these controls. I want to raise the fan speed, 1 button. I want to change the temperature, 1 button. I don't have to do it on the touch screen. This is probably the best BMW has ever been, because they are moving away from this towards touchscreens, and I absolutely hate it. This was perfect. So the fact that this is outdated is actually quite a good thing. We do also have a wireless phone charger. Slide that open right here. We have a USB-A cable for data. USB-C cable is hidden. I'll show you that in a little bit. The Handschalter package. This is what we're here for, right? Classic BMW shifter with the little M pattern. Feels a lot notchier than some other BMW manuals. We'll talk about that more as we get it out on the road. One thing is they got rid of the fact that the shift pattern lights up at night. They don't do that anymore. That is a feature that I miss. I thought it looked really cool. We do have our roof control here. Goes up and down in 10 seconds as I showed you. And I love that we just have buttons to put it in the different modes. We've got Sport, Comfort, Eco, Pro. These actually have a pretty big change on how the car feels. Sport mode is going to kick up the rev matching to a more aggressive manner. It does rev match even in Comfort, but it is a lot more subtle, just to kind of make you smoother in traffic. This really makes it more aggressive. Eco Pro makes this car feel really slow and weird. It is kind of funny actually to put it in Eco Pro and see what it does if you're just kind of cruising around. And you might be wondering, wait a minute, isn't there something missing? That's right, there are cup holders. You do have to open this up right here. So we do have cup holders. They're a little bit awkward here. I don't like putting a cup here because it interrupts my shifting a little bit. The rear one is much better. And the thing that you can do is you can actually put a cup here, and then as long as it's not too big, you can actually close the driver's side portion here so that you still have your nice armrest for shifting. You can put the cup here. It is for sure not the best way that they could have done these cup holders, but I've definitely seen worse. And when you're operating in a small cabin like this, you really have to be a little bit creative with things like that. All right, now let's get behind the wheel of the new 2025 BMW Z4 with the Handschalter package, and let's talk about how it drives. So We'll start off with the Z4 in general. You can get two versions of the car. You can get the S-Drive 30i, that is the base 4-cylinder model, gets you 255 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque, only going out to the rear wheels via an 8-speed automatic transmission, 0 to 60 in about 5.2 seconds. But let's talk about the M40i, the one that I'm driving and the one that you probably want. This one has BMW's 3-liter turbocharged B58 inline-6 motor, and it is an absolute gem of an engine. This is possibly the best inline-6 in the world right now. It might be the best inline-6 ever, if I'm being honest. I know that the S54 is legendary for its sound and its naturally aspirated power, but this thing, with its torque, would absolutely crush the S54's head in with how much power it makes. 382 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. Those are the correct numbers for a sports car to have. I know that BMW makes a more powerful inline-6, the S58 that goes in all the M models. It makes well over 500 horsepower now in a lot of applications, and it's just unnecessary. This thing sounds great. It makes the right raspy noise. It makes farts out of the exhaust, but it does so without sending you to jail in 3 point whatever, 2 point whatever seconds. And speaking of which, I should mention the fact that there is a pretty big difference between the 8-speed automatic, which you still get standard on the M40i, and the Handschalter Package, which gives you this 6-speed manual. You should get from 0 to 60 in the automatic car in just 3.9 seconds. That is really fast, especially when you consider that the M40i Z4 is not a proper M car. That is really quick. You are going to be a decent amount slower if you get this manual car. BMW says you'll do it in about 4.2 seconds. And why don't we try that? I can push sport mode because it is just one button. I don't have to fiddle around with any settings or whatever. Just click sport mode, get it into sport mode, and let's see how I get off the line. Lots of wheel spin. There we go. Traction control cutting in. There we go. That was a pretty good launch. It definitely likes to spin the wheels a little bit. I have not quite reached BMW's 4.2 second time. Depending on how good you are with a stick, you might be able to get it. I got about 4.5 seconds in my fastest run, which is completely fine. Don't care. Don't need it to be any quicker than that because I am having more fun than I would be in the automatic model. And let's get a little bit deeper into that, because you might just think that BMW put a manual transmission in, added the pedal, you have 3 pedals now, you have the manual, and just called it a day. But no, that is not what they did. Even though sales of this car are really not very big, like they sell maybe like 2,000 of these a year, BMW went through the process of completely and drastically overhauling this driving experience. When I say that this feels like an entirely new version of the car, I'm not joking. You could have told me that this was a facelifted model, and if they really did like new headlights or a new grille or anything like that, I would believe you. That is how different this Handschalter package feels compared to the automatic model. I'm gonna first start off by listing all of the things that BMW did here. You get an M-specific gear set for the manual transmission. You get new drive shafts. You get a different shift lever guide. So the guide is a little bit different on this than it is on any other manual BMW, the M2 and M3 and M4 included. You get a unique connection as well. So the manual itself just feels clickier, notchier, better than it does even in BMW's dedicated M products. Oh, I just love shifting it. It still feels like a BMW. You still have that kind of rubbery input as you go in and out of gears, but it's a little bit crisper than I've felt in pretty much any BMW, past or present. This might be the best manual they've ever made. And if you're wondering how it compares to the Toyota Supra, which basically has the same transmission and the same engine, because Toyota did some wonders with that transmission too. That felt better than any of BMW's, current manuals as well, but this feels even better still. I don't know what exactly they did to it, but I think the fact that it's the BMW shifter, I don't love the actual shifter knob that's in the Supra, the little ball. I just think it feels kind of cheap. Maybe that's it, but this feels even better still than the Supra, and that's saying something, because when the manual Supra came out, I said that car felt better than the M2 or the M3 and M4. So for this to be even better than that, bravo BMW. But it's not just what they did to the transmission that makes the 2025 Z4 with the Handschalter package better. The manual car gets completely different tuning than the automatic one. It is transformative. You get unique chassis tuning to sharpen the responses. You get a unique auxiliary spring. Like literally, the actual hardware is different than it is in the automatic. You get reinforced anti-roll bars, front and rear, unique rear damper software, unique steering software. All of those little changes add up to create something that I can only describe as special. If you watched my review when they first came out with the Z4, they did like a small update to it like a number of years ago. And if you watch that review of it, I really wasn't that fond of the car. It just felt too hard to be a Grand Tourer or to be a Grand Tourer cruiser type car. And it felt too soft and squishy to be like a proper sports car. But with this Handschalter package, they've fixed everything. The steering is still a little bit numb. It's that BMW steering, but it's good enough. Sharp enough inputs that I know what the front end is doing. The rear end now loves to step out. It did that before. It was always a pretty tail-happy, slidey car, but now I can control it on throttle. I know exactly what gear I'm in because it doesn't change without my say-so. Oh, and the suspension tuning, it's just the right level. It doesn't beat you up, but it still holds you level in the corners. It's just what I want from a sports car. The M3 has become this brutal experience. So has the M2. This is just lovely. Top-down experience. What more could you want from a sports car? Now, if you get the M40i, no matter whether you get the automatic or the Handschalter manual, you do get all the good stuff that you really want from this car: variable sport steering, M Sport brakes, you get the M Sport diff and adaptive M suspension. But I'm telling you, the manual takes this from probably one of the most forgettable BMWs that I've driven recently to my new favorite. This is now above the M2. It's above the M4 CS because that car was awesome, but just a little bit too hardcore for daily use. I would absolutely kill to have one of these in my garage. That's how much I like it. I would buy it over the Toyota Supra because I like a convertible. I would buy it over any other BMW M car right now. That's how good it is. The other thing that I absolutely love here is the rev match downshifting. You can turn it off if you want to heel toe yourself, but it works so well. I'm coming into a corner now, third gear. I'm gonna slow down, put it into second. It just gives a nice kick of the throttle. When you're in sport mode, you get those nice crackles and pops on the upshift. It's not obnoxious. It's just the right level of flair. Oh, this engine just sounds so good. And then the that you get when you let off the throttle, I cannot get enough of it. The rev matching is so good that I've just decided to leave it on. I really don't have any trouble with it. It makes it easier that I don't have to do my own heel toe downshifts. It nails it perfect every time. BMW just really nailed everything about this experience. And before I send you off, I do want to say there are maybe some slight considerations when you consider whether or not you're going to want the Handschalter package. One of which is the fact that you cannot get adaptive cruise control if you get the manual. I find it a little bit disappointing that BMW couldn't figure out how to make adaptive cruise control work with a manual. Ford has figured this out in the Mustang. Toyota has figured this out in the Corolla. So it's a little sad that BMW was not able to make that work. The other part is the stop start. Less annoying. It works fine, if I'm being honest. You kind of come down to a stop. It kind of kills the engine when you're in neutral or whatever. And then when you go ahead and put your foot on the clutch, it'll kind of fire the engine back up. It's really not that bad. And there is a very easy, quick button, one push. You're able to turn that off. But other than that, I think BMW, this is the best car that they have made in years, and I highly recommend it. That wraps up our time with the 2025 BMW Z4. If you want the base S-Drive 30i model, it starts at $54,500, but honestly, nah, you don't want the 4-cylinder one. You want the inline 6, which starts at an even 67 grand. The Handschalter package that I have been telling you about is $3,500. Best money that you will ever spend on a Z4. Completely changes the driving experience, makes it a completely different car that is so much more entertaining to drive. The only disadvantage that I really see is that you can't get adaptive cruise control, but I would be willing to live without it for this manual driving experience. It is just that good. This one that we've been testing has a few other options on it besides just the Handschalter package, bringing the as-tested price to just under $75,000. That is a lot of money. It is more than what you'll spend on the equivalent Toyota Supra, which also has this manual transmission and this engine as well. If you prefer how the Supra looks or you just don't want a convertible, I think you're perfectly in the right to go ahead and go buy one of those. But really, besides that, there's not a whole lot else in this segment that you can buy that gets you this level of power, this level of premiumness, and such a good engine. I mean, yes, you could maybe get a base Boxster, maybe a Boxster S, but you're really not going to be able to put the options on that you want. Porsche nickels and dimes you for everything, and you're probably going to be spending a whole lot more than 75 grand on a Boxster. You're probably going to be spending closer to 100 grand, making the Z4 kind of a unique thing in the segment. Buyers are already taking notice of this manual transmission. I think last year, or since that this has been introduced, BMW's sales for the Z4 have split about 65% towards the manual. That is really good, and it shows that there still is demand for a row-it-yourself manual sports car. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this review of the 2025 BMW Z4. For more videos like it, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos, and I'll see you next time.